What's up?
What's up, shitbags? Welcome back.
Episode 45.
Woo! Seems like we're at a new milestone each time. It feels like it. It's probably like, it's really not. It's 45. But it's like when you're turning the TV volume and it's got to be an even number of the 5. It's like every time I see it, it's like, whoa, we're at episode 45. This is crazy. We're 5 away.
We're getting up there.
It's
Sounds
awesome.
professional or something. Just kidding.
Yeah. I think you see Corley. Oh my god! I think he posted this one with Bernard, who's a great guy. I think it's like 311 or something. It's like, holy shit!
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's awesome. Maybe one day we'll get there. That's the goal.
Maybe.
Keep this thing going as long as possible. But yeah, we couldn't do it without you guys, without everybody listening and watching. So thank you very much. Definitely couldn't do it without our sponsors: Crew First, Taylor's Tins, Jobtown Graphics, Toxic Suppression. Huge thanks to all those guys. Wouldn't be here without it. And it's a great road. We are moving along with our training division on kind of the training that we're coming up with. Got our first AHA course. We're starting to do all that stuff. So hopefully in the future we can do some pretty cool trainings and bring some of these guests, or just bring some cheap training to probably the Wisconsin area if you're listening from Wisconsin. But who knows how big or how small it'll get. But we just want to bring some good to the fire service. So hopefully we can get doing that. But it's been a crazy ride, and thank you guys so much as always. Yeah. But now we're done yapping. We're done. We'll bring in people actually are tuned in for it. It's not us. Nobody wants to hear us talk. We'll bring in John. John, how's it going?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Fantastic. Good. Thanks for coming on. Why don't you go ahead and give a quick introduction to everybody? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Jon Shackelford. I am a battalion chief at Honey Creek Fire, which is south of Terre Haute, Indiana. For the people that have been to FDIC, I'm 70 miles from Indianapolis on the Indiana-Illinois border. Start my 28th year with Honey Creek in October 1. Grew up at the firehouse. My old man started here a year before I was born as a volunteer. This was started out as a volunteer department. We've now moved to a combination department with 35 career employees and about 40 volunteers. We're going to do 3,000 calls this year out of 4 stations. I run B shift, best shift. I have a shift that acts, and I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but that's okay. We have a saying on our shift: it's B shift, best shift. I have a group of firefighters that make me look good when I'm out of the country. They are an amazing group of guys to work with. We're very strong. We have a very strong community with us. We try to bring all the 4 stations together almost every day. We do PT together. We eat together at least once every cycle. So it's good. We have a pretty good thing. And then I started a training company last year called Crossroads Training. We specialize in auto extrication. That's really all we teach is auto extrication. When I did my first instructor class in the late 90s, I know that everybody just said late 90s. God, he's an old guy. Yeah, I'm an old guy now. My instructor he was a chief of Sugar Creek Fire, which neighboring department to us. He said, find one subject, get good at it, and teach that. So I've taken his word to heart after all these years. Chief Holbert was a great chief. He was the kind of chief you like to work for. And he told us that, and that's kind of what I've stuck with. And have some unique sides to extrication that a lot of the fire side doesn't see. So,
awesome. Yeah, absolutely, and we'll get into that because we got to meet you down at MAPC last year, which was a great time. And I think we've talked about meeting you, how starstruck we were that you recognized the podcast, because we were like, what the hell? No way, we're down in Georgia. And
that wasn't even my deal. A friend of mine, Tim O'Connor, actually put in for that class, and Tim needed some help with the skills day that day. And he's like, hey, you willing to go to Georgia? And it worked out really well. My brother actually lives in Cartersville, which is 20 minutes north of the training site. So it kind of worked out well. I went down and did one day with that class, and then got to spend the next day with my brother and drove home. So it was a 7-hour drive, hang out with my brother, teach class, and then drive home. But that's okay.
Nice. That's awesome. Crazy how it works out there. It was just it was a cool experience to get to know that it was kind of reaching out and getting as big as we thought it could be one day. So that's awesome. But the first question that we've got for you, going back to kind of early on in your career, what do you wish you knew or did early in your career?
What I wish I knew or I did early in my career? Man. I wish I would have learned to shut my mouth more. I wish I would have opened my ears and shut my mouth more. We always tell the new guys, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's a reason for that. I wish I would have listened to that advice when I was younger. I can be a mouthpiece. I can be very boisterous when I'm passionate about something. You're going to know I'm passionate about it. I'm not afraid to tell people what I think. And I wish I would have shut up more and listened to the guys that knew. I wouldn't trade much of anything that I've done, but I just wish I would have listened more. I think that you can get a lot further with that. And we've got some young guys in the job now that I'm trying to impress that on. And so, when you have that conversation, listen to the mistakes I made and don't make them. So you can learn a lot from watching people's mistakes.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
You can learn a lot from your own mistakes. We've talked about, I know you're good friends with Jeffrey Eckert. That was a great thing that we loved having him on when we saw him down at Wichita, when he was giving a presentation about basically all the mistakes he's made and what he's learned from them and how to move from them.
Jeff and I talk weekly, if not daily sometimes. Jeff and I became friends. We were both teaching for the same company. Jeff and I did 11 days together in Little Rock in 100-degree heat doing live fire VES. And you build bonds over that because it sucks so bad.
Yeah.
It just sucks so bad. And we built a great bond. His training company, Philly 10 Helmet, were here last month, the end of May, 1st of June. He was there that weekend and did a class for us here locally. The second time we have them in. My guys absolutely love when they come here. That you can't ask for a better guy than Jeff.
Yeah.
Gabe, and then they bring a guy named Mike Murphy with them, and it is phenomenal. If you guys can ever do one of their hands-on classes, do it.
Yeah, cool. We really want to. There's so many courses now; it's like crazy. Our grocery list keeps going on.
I run the training division here at Honey Creek, and we're very blessed here. I've got a Lone Star Tactical building, training building over here that's 5,500 square feet. We're blessed. Wow. I still don't have enough money to bring in all the instructors that I have. Yeah. I want more guys to come. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's hard because the stuff that Jeff and them have taught us. I got guys locally can teach it, but when you bring somebody in from 100 miles away, they're preaching the gospel, and we're the same old dudes from Terre Haute that are telling the same shit. So
yeah, yep, that 50 mile, it's crazy. Going into your expertise area, how did you build your working relationship with your wrecking company?
Well, it started out with training. I went to some classes here locally. We have a company out of Indianapolis called ARS, Advanced Rescue Solutions, and I did some classes with those guys, and they really impressed on us what the importance of working with a record company is. And then I was fortunate enough to go to work for a record company here locally in town. So my day off job was working with a heavy towing recovery company. And we built that relationship up to where we are it's hard to say what we build it up to. We build it up to the point where it's become an integral part of our rescue plan. Using those heavies is super important. They can move so much more than we can. And when you're bringing in a subject matter expert that works on heavy vehicles every day for 12 hours a day, it's a resource that you just can't imagine what it does for your rescue company. The big thing is you have to train with them. If you expect to bring a heavy wrecker into a heavy extrication without doing any training, you're setting yourself up for failure. You have to have that relationship built long before you ever get to the scene, and that has to be built through training. I have some certifications through a company called Wreckmasters. Which is a towing recovery certification platform. Finding a company that is willing to work with you, finding a company that's willing to spend the time and honestly spend the money. There's a lot of money that goes in there. A rotating wrecker can be up to $2,000 an hour when it leaves the barn. You're going to have a company that's willing to spend that money without having to get it recouped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how your guys' record service works, but here we have a rotation. There's multiple services, and if they may come, my record service may come help me with a rescue and unhook and drive away and not get to charge a dime for another company to come in and recover it. It's big business, big money. You know, an average recovery for a heavy vehicle is between $30,000 and $50,000. There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And money drives a lot of it. So
interesting. Yeah, we talked about a little bit before we started recording. I mean, it's just an extremely unique situation wherever you go. I mean, I know in Beaver Dam, we were with the rural highways and the stretches, went on a lot more wrecks there. But even then, I mean, it was, even with pretty high semi traffic, it was maybe semi versus vehicle, but very rarely were you having heavy on heavy. And Brendan, do you guys have any like actual heavy wreckers in the surrounding area now?
I would say like a medium heavy wrecker. It's not the ones that we saw in like Georgia, like the big rotating booms.
Articulating, yeah.
Yeah, but we have like a medium one of those.
So here's the thing: everybody thinks that you have to have a rotator to have a new record system. Yesterday we did an hour and 15-minute extrication on one semi rear-ended another semi. We used a wrecker service, but we didn't use their heavy. We used their flatbed as a working platform. So now we're not working with tools over our heads. We're working off the back of a flatbed. And that was what we used our wrecker service for yesterday. The heavy couldn't lift. There was nothing to lift. Yeah. It wasn't an underride. It wasn't anything that we could lift with. And we used them for that. So you can use light duty in heavy wreckers and heavy recovery and heavy rescue. You don't have to think of a rotator. If you got a straight stick 50-ton wrecker, you can do the same work. It just takes more room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little more versatile when you got that rotator. But rotators are like fire trucks. Rotators, a big rotator, a 50-ton NRC or a 65-ton Jerridan, you're looking at $1 million investment before you put any equipment on it. It's like buying a ladder truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of investments for those companies to have up and running.
Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. In your experience, so I know every wreck is different. Everybody knows that, but everybody nowadays, especially when it comes to extrication, is looking for like the most efficient, the fastest. Do you have a extrication tactic that has worked the best for you, that you believe is the most efficient, kind of your go-to? And if so, what is it?
Okay, so like if we're going to go to vehicle like passenger vehicles, that's what 90% of us deal with most of the time. Is most of us deal with passenger vehicles. We're dealing with T-bone accidents. We're dealing with head-on accidents. I'm a big fan of side removals. If you're going to take and you're going to pop a door, why don't take the whole side off so you're not manipulating that patient around the B-post? A B-post in the car is designed for protection of the driver. Unless there's somebody that's 4 foot tall, where do you sit in your vehicle? Are you sitting with your body behind that B-post? Look, next time you sit in your car, you're positioned behind that B-post for a reason. That's a strong structural point. And when we're removing our patients, we're removing that vehicle from the patient. You know, we have to get away from the thought of we're removing the patient from the vehicle. We're removing the vehicle from the patient. We're making a big enough hole that we do not have to manipulate that patient. Take the side off. You know, do I don't know what you want to call it, a side removal, a fifth door, a fourth door conversion, a rip and blitz, whatever you're calling it in your area. Take that whole side off. If you train on it, you can do a side removal almost as fast as you can remove a door. You know, making the relief cuts, sliding the spreader in there, getting it worked out. It all comes down to training. It's what you're trained with and how you train and how you become proficient. You know how you get good at cutting cars up?
Cutting cars
up. How you get good at forcing doors? You force doors. How you get good at pushing hose, which I don't understand why those engine guys do that crap, but whatever. You know, I'm not an engine guy, never have been, but you know, you get good at it by doing it. That's how you have to get good at it. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan. We're like everybody else. We are light staffed all the time. We're always running with, you know, my rescue may leave here with 2 guys on it. We're going to start an extrication with 4 to 5 people. I'm a big fan of if you can do it as a no-cut dash lift, a dirty dash lift. If you've got the right spreaders and the car's in the right shape, that works really well. In the record yards or in the junk yards when we're doing training, how far do we lift a dash?
Usually go as far as you can.
Yeah. As far as you can. How far do you lift a dash? You got a patient underneath of it.
Couple inches.
You have to get it out. Extrication is a game of inches. We're looking for that 1 to 2 inch clearance. I'll go back to yesterday. We, at the hour and 10-minute mark, we got a push, but we got 2 inches, and it was enough to free the guy's leg, and we pulled him out. It's a game of inches. Now, could we have pushed it further? I don't know on this one. I don't know how to push, but it's a game of inches, and you have to be able to play that game well.
Absolutely. So
I'm a big fan of leaving roofs on cars, especially newer vehicles. That's all part of the structure of the vehicle. When you start cutting into the roof and you start cutting into the A post and the C post, you're taking a lot of the structural strength out of that vehicle. You need to be prepared for that. Look at our patients. If we cut a roof off a car and it's raining out, what have we just exposed our patient to?
The elements.
The elements. If it's 5 degrees out and the wind's blowing, now you guys are up there in Wisconsin where it gets really, really cold. I mean, we actually ice fished this year for almost a week and a half. We got to ice fish here, which we haven't been able to do for a while. So, we got a lot of cold this winter, but you guys deal with it all the time up there, knowing how to protect your patient. If you can leave that roof in, leave the windshield in place. What are you doing to make it easy for that patient?
True. It's a very good point. Like I said, we know everything's different. There's not one great way. That's kind of why extrication is so much fun. There's never one way to do anything. You always have to be anticipating everything and basically just know what's going to happen when you make those cuts.
So, I tell in a fire, when we're doing a fire, how many plans do we have in place? Plan A, we're going on the alpha side with 1 3/4 inch. We're going to go knock fire out. Plan B is, we can't do that. We're going to do this. Plan C is this. We were looking yesterday. Again, I keep going back to this call because it's less than 24 hours after, we're 24 hours away from it. We were at plan X at one point. At one point, we the medic on scene, I said, you might want to think about calling a trauma surgeon at this point because I don't know what his feet look like once we get down here.
Yeah.
That plan was even put in place. You better have plan A is going to fail in extrication. Plan B is probably going to fail like 2 minutes after plan A fails. So you better be on to plan C. It's almost like playing chess. I'm not good at playing chess. They say you got to be 5 moves ahead. You better be 5 moves ahead in extrication because you may make a relief cut that's going to screw you for the next 10 minutes.
Right.
So
now I'm only asking this because I'm a trauma nut and what you said just sparked my attention. Do you frequently have the ability to or call like trauma surgeons or field docs? Like, is that something you guys do around you? Is that just kind of special?
So there was a time here where we had a level 2 trauma center in our town. And one of the things they came out several years ago, they came out and did training for field amputations with us. This is what they had a bag set up in the ER that they could grab and bring a trauma surgeon out. We have since lost that level 2 trauma center. Our closest trauma center now is Indianapolis. It's about a 30-minute flight.
Gotcha.
So they do have the ability, if we need it, they'll put a trauma surgeon on a helicopter and fly them to the scene for us. It's happened a couple times north of us. They made the scene and we got lucky. They didn't have to do it, but yes, we have that option if it gets to the point where we can't. The Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, they run the helicopter service that we use 90% of the time, and they'll actually fly a trauma surgeon to them if we need it.
Yeah, that's something that it's still in our, like, if we actually were thinking about that, we would specifically ask for them. But when I was down a little bit more south with Beaver Dam and Brennan, like that is UW-Madison, the level 1. Yeah. And their medical helicopter out of there flies with a doc at all times.
Yeah. And
so that was pretty cool to have a doc, usually a trauma doc, that was on scene with you. And I didn't have to utilize them for anything like that, but if they cracked chests and for me, like,
they crack chest and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have that opportunity. And like I said, it's just it'd be another probably 10-minute flight. So it's something that we've talked about by us. Like, hey, if we're on scene and you're thinking this could be a possibility, that would just be an option. It'd just be a little bit longer of a flight.
Well, and what we have here is I have a medical helicopter that is based in my town. It's from Lifeline, which is that's who runs the Methodist Hospital. It's Lifeline of Indianapolis. Yeah. IU Health is actually what it is. And I have had times where we have not even started extrication, and I have a landing zone established for the helicopter. We'll have an HLZ established within the first 5 minutes, because that helicopter has a 10-minute ETA from dispatch. And we do auto launch. So if we have any extrications, long falls, any amputations more than fingers, anything like that, they're auto launched.
Yeah.
So they're in the air, and I've had them. They've been in the air when we've dispatched, and I'm marking on scene, giving a size up, and I have a helicopter overhead. So we actually hear a lot of times, even being 30-minute flight from Indianapolis, we can hit the golden hour from Terre Haute. We've done it multiple times.
That's amazing.
And I'm not an EMS guy. I'm an EMT because my job requires me to be an EMT, basically. I'm not a medical guy, but I work with some really, really good medics around here. Like I said, the helicopter is overhead all the time. It's amazing what we have here with that.
And that's so important. I mean, now it's just going to meet with the preaching to the choir, because I know I've got a lot of former students that watch. I mean, that's the first thing I say is, like, for us, the only level 1s are south in the state. We got a level 2 in the north side, but like we have Children's in Milwaukee, which is the only place that's going to do any severe, like, surgery on any kids. And like, so having I don't know of any place around us that has necessarily auto launch, but like, I know almost everybody in our state at least is under the understanding that, like, if it sounds bad, you call it. And if they get canceled, oh well. But like, and that it's just so important. Like you said, you can even beat that golden hour is crazy. Cause it is.
30-minute flight. And we can get them if it's a simple, simple extrication, if it's a simple, a trauma patient, we can get the golden hour. And our helicopter here flies with a flight nurse and a flight medic. The one coming out of Indy does fly with a doctor. They have IU Health has 5 bases around Indiana.
Wow.
So I mean, they do a lot of flights, and it's cool to have. It's a good resource.
Yeah, without a doubt. Going to, again, a little bit more of kind of what you talked about, maybe the uniqueness that you share, because although 90% of ours is going to be passenger vehicle, if we come up on that one heavy versus heavy, it'd be good to have. What is a big difference between extrication when it comes to a semi versus semi compared to your passenger, normal passenger situations?
When I tell people this, and I think I told you this when we were down in Atlanta, semis and heavy vehicles are very weak compared to passenger cars. The structural components in a semi-tractor versus a car are completely different. It's very, very easy to punch through the bottom of a B post in a semi, because there's no structure there. It's basically just folded metal, and there's no reinforcements. There's no heavy structure there. So finding a place to push against you can be very unique. We've actually had situations again, I'll go back to yesterday. Yesterday, we were pushing off seat bases. We were pushing off of the seat where it goes from the actual bottom of the seat to the vertical part of the seat. We were pushing off of that structure yesterday because there was nothing to push on. We pushed through the side, pushed through what would be the B post. We'd push, the ram just pushed through it. So knowing how to spread that pressure out when you're pushing, finding points to push against can be very challenging in those. We had a dump truck versus a semi head-on, and over in a neighboring department, and I was on the wrecker side for this one. We actually used two wreckers, and we rolled the dash on the dump truck with dump truck. I don't know if it's a dump truck or the lowboy, the tractor. We actually used 2 wreckers and actually pulled the dash off with the chains and the winches on the trucks, because we could not find anything to push against. As we were pushing, it was just folding. It was just pushing the rams and the spreader tips through. And we actually made relief cuts and used the winches to actually move the dash. We chained around it. And again, knowing your chains, knowing how your chain system works, and knowing how your wreckers work. Everybody thinks wrecker drivers are Cooter from Dukes of Hazzard. And there's the redneck hillbillies. They might be redneck hillbillies. I kind of fit that a little bit of a thing, but they're very well trained. They know these vehicles. They know how to move these vehicles. I can take a wrecker winch and I can move it at less than an inch a minute with 50 tons of force.
Yeah.
So if you know how to use a chain and you know how to rig it, you can move a lot of stuff with that very carefully. But trying to do that without training with them, it's going to be a failure. You're going to fail.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that wraps up our questions that we have for you. So now Brendan's got the generic questions for advice for everyone that we ask.
Well, generic questions. I'm a very generic guy, so this is going to be perfect.
This is where we usually find the most rabbits. We like to get everybody's different perspective on a lot of these same questions. We try them out and we rotate them every year. But yeah, it's where we like it. And we love this first one, which Brendan will get to.
Let's get it.
This one has not changed. So you take it how you will. Why are we here? You can take us wherever you want to go with it.
We haven't given anybody an explanation on it ever since, I don't know if you know Chad Daly. We asked it to him and he took it a total different direction than we wanted. And we were like, you know what? That's how we want everybody.
Why are we here? I got a couple reasons for that. We're here for our customers. Everybody thinks the fire service is a public service. It is 100%, but we're a customer-based business, just like if we're selling shit. Our customers are people that pay our taxes, that allow us to have brand new Hirsch tools, that allows us to have fire gear to protect us, that allow us to have fire stations to live in, that allow us to have, new trucks and things like that. Pay our salaries if we're career guys. They're why we're here. We're here because they demand us to be here. We have to provide a service to them, and we're here for them. I mean, plain and simple. Another reason we're here is because we're adrenaline junkies. We love this crap. Finished up yesterday. I'm sitting on the edge of a wrecker, basically shaking because my arms were so tired. And I'm like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? We're here for us. Anybody that tells you we're not here for our own good are lying to you. If you're not here for your own self-gratification, that you're getting to help people, you're getting to do a job you love, they're lying to you. And most people don't want to say that because it's not the cool thing to say. It's not the cool thing to say, look, I'm here for myself. I'm 100% here for myself. I'm here because I love what I do. I have ruined relationships over my career. I have put my kids behind my career more than once. I have 3 beautiful daughters. One of them is actually a volunteer here at Honey Creek. She's a 3rd generation firefighter here. Not super active, but she's here. Went through EMT school in high school. I've got another one that is my middle daughter is going to be a president of the United States one day. My youngest daughter is going to be her vice president. I swear to God. But we're here for us. And anybody that tells you that they don't enjoy what they do and they don't get a little bit of gratification when they go to calls, they're lying to you.
That's right.
The third reason we're here probably is there's a little voice in us that says we have to help people. I never served in the military. I'm a huge supporter of the military. My girlfriend's retired Air Force, did 28 years in the Air Force. We're here because it's what's needed of us. And I don't know if that's where you were going, where it goes, but there's where my mind takes me. Customers first. And then there's a little bit of us that love this too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah.
Sure. All right. Awesome. I like that answer. That's good. I know there's thousands popping up everywhere and wherever that stuff is, but what trainings and conferences have been your favorite to attend?
Oh, this is hard for me. I'm 70 miles from FDIC. My whole job goes to FDIC every year. We've provided apparatus to use in hot classes. I can get up in the morning and say, I think I'm going to go to opening ceremonies. I can leave my house in an hour and 15 minutes, be standing in FDIC. FDIC is very commercialized. It is, but it's cool. Put 30,000 firemen together. It's the same bitches everywhere. Everybody's got the same bitches. FDIC's been big for me. I started going to FDIC in the late 90s. I did my first hot class in FDIC in 1998. That was when RIT first started coming out, and we did a firefighter safety survival class. And I brought a lot of stuff back here to my job that we still use today. It was great. The other one that I'm very, very passionate about is First In. Ryan McCormick in Little Rock, Arkansas area runs First In. I've taught at First In, and now I go and help every year on the admin side of First In. It's cheap. This year, $350 gets you 3 days of lecture and a day of hot. And Todd Edwards is actually burning for us this year, so we're going to do live fire with our hot classes this year. $350. I just spent my job here is I'm sending 3 guys out this year to it. So yeah, it's $350. It's cheap. Some of the biggest names you can imagine. Clyde Gordon's coming out and talking this year. We've got Clyde. We've got Corley's doing a full day of his stuff. Kyle Ramagus is going to be there. Eric Budd's coming out. We have got a list this year that is, you're not going to find a better list of speakers, and you get it all. You don't have to pick. If you don't have to say, well, Todd Edwards is talking now, and Clyde Gordon's talking right now. Which one do I pick to go to? You get all of them.
Yeah.
So Little Rock Union ponied up, and we're using their union hall this year to host everything, which is going to be phenomenal. They got an awesome union hall if you've never been there. So that one's huge for me. I'm very blessed to have Ryan involve me in that. We became friends several years ago at a class here in Indiana, and he is a true friend and a mentor, and he is one of the best ambassadors for the fire service that you'll find. So that's my big one that I love is First In. I mean, it's 7 hours away from me.
Yeah.
I'll get in the car right now and drive if I have to. I don't care. So,
that's awesome.
Heck yeah. Awesome. How should we look at failures as a fire service?
Ooh. Well, you guys get these deep questions. Come on.
Gotcha.
No way. Can't off them. Boom.
Failures. I'll ask you a question. Where would we be in the fire service without failures?
Probably 20 years.
I'd say at least 20 years in the
behind. I think behind.
Yeah, 20 years in the rears at least. Failures is, and I don't want to say the fire service is built on failures because it's not, but the learning that we get from our failures is huge. I have learned more from failing things than I have from winning. Sure. When you have a fire that goes good, you go in, you get room and contents, you make a good push, the fire goes out. How quick do you remember that? Now you get that same fire, you burn the roof off the place, and you look like idiots. What do you remember about that?
All the shade fucked up.
Exactly. Absolutely. Look at a car accident. You go in and you fail doing a side removal, and you got to go to plan F because you failed the first 4. What do you remember about that?
Shit not to do.
You learn how to make yourself better. I think without failures, we would be a lot further behind than we are. Look at the line of duty death studies. If you haven't spent the time to read those, read them. You're going to learn things that where failures have happened. I'm not saying the guys that passed away failed, but failures happen on the fire ground. And if we can keep guys from that happening again, that's a win. So I truly believe that failures lead to wins.
I think they do too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. Kind of the last generic one that's your turn to come up with. Or no, we got one more question from our previous guest. Then you got to come up with one.
All right.
So what do you tell your probies to expect when they get hired? So on day one, what do you tell your probies?
So we have an interesting setup here at Honey Creek. We do not hire anybody unless they have at least Fire 1. We are not bringing people in that are completely inexperienced. Now we will hire at 18 though. We'll put people on the job at 18. Typically my first conversation happens with them on their first day. We do typically an 8-week probie school. They're basically working Monday through Friday days. We have that expectation talk of I expect you to be here on time. I expect you to be prepared to work. I expect you to close your mouth and open your ears. But it's, so that's that first one. When I get new guys coming to my shift with their first day, we come back here into my office and we sit down and we have a conversation that isn't just about work. I want to know about their families. I want to know about what they like to do. I want to get to know my people. My last probie that I just got 30 years fire experience to come here as a probie. He's a fire chief at a volunteer department. And we've had some conversations that you don't have with your typical probies. You know what I mean? We're talking tactics and leadership stuff that where typical probie conversation is, I expect you to know how to make coffee. I expect you to know how to clean toilets. And we have to lay those expectations out early. I've had probies that have come in here, young guys that have never cleaned a toilet in their life, that have never had to mow grass. We mow grass at our stations.
Mm-hmm.
We run weed eaters. We do things that are, we do housewife work or house person work. I don't care, housewife, house husband, whatever you want to call it. We do that work here. We clean up after each other, and we've got guys that their parents still do their laundry.
Fuck, I wish.
What's that?
I was like, fuck, I wish. I hate doing laundry.
When I was a kid, I worked at a hog farm from the time I was 15. My mother didn't touch my laundry from the time I was 15 because anything that when I went to the farm, I had to take off outside and I had to wash it myself. I wasn't supposed to take out the laundry. But it's those conversations. It's laying out your expectations, and then the big thing we have to do is we have to stick to those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's failing those expectations, it's not automatically, well, you didn't do what I told you to do, so you're going to get a piece of paper in your file. Why? Why are you failing those? Are we having a personal reason that they're failing those? Is there stuff going on at home? Is there problems, problems with girlfriends? Is there money problems? They left one job and start here, and then they go, 3 or 4 weeks without pay. What's causing these issues? You have to be able to sit and have conversations with people. I am not the guy that you have to call me chief. I would prefer you didn't. Most people call me Shaq. I've got guys on my shift that's what they refer to me as, and I'm perfectly okay with that. You have to be able to be personal with people. You got to talk to people. You got to know, their families. You got to know their history. Hey, you ever ran a weed eater? Nope, never done that. Well, let's go out and learn how to do that. You ever ran a chainsaw other than the time that you came here and I put you on a roof and expect you to cut a hole in it? It comes back to stuff like that. We did a structural collapse course here this spring. We just started a structural collapse and trench rescue team here at Honey Creek.
Awesome.
And I had to teach guys how to drive nails. I've been driving nails since I was, old enough to hold a hammer. And these guys had no idea how to use a hammer. We actually had to buy a miter box saw for our trailer because we had guys that wasn't succeeding using a skill saw to cut a 4x4. So, we actually bought extra tools so we could make it easy for the guys. So, those things, life skills are different than when I was a kid. I grew up in a subdivision, but I remodeled my parents' bathroom when I was 15. Me and my dad remodeled the bathroom. We built fences. It was just a different world. I didn't play video games when I was a kid. I didn't, Nintendo came out when I was in junior high school, boys. So it's a different world.
That's awesome.
And learning to communicate with your guys. When I started, conversations happened personally. You didn't have text messaging on phones. When I started, I had a cell phone that was like a brick. Now these guys, I've got guys on shift that how they communicate back and forth to each other on Snapchat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll be sitting in the same room and they'll start laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? I just sent him a snap. I'm like, dude, we're sitting right here. I don't know if I want to say that out loud. Which fair enough.
Fair enough.
We, as the old guys and as the I hate to say this, the ones that are becoming the mentors and becoming the leaders, we need to be able to work on the same level as them. We have to learn the technology, and having a conversation with somebody that is failing something and getting to their level is difficult. And people don't think about what it takes to have a conversation with a guy that is younger than my daughters. I have guys on my shift that are younger than my middle daughter. My middle daughter's 21. I got kids that I got a kid on my shift that I watched grow up.
Yeah.
And literally, I've got pictures of him at my house when I was married, swimming in my swimming pool at like 4 years old, and now he's on my shift.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So it's difficult. You've got to learn how to communicate with people, and it's just, man, I know this went down a little bit further than what the question was.
That's cool. I love
But
it.
I am very passionate about talking to my people and getting out there. We're sitting here, and I just had a text message from my guys that weren't on shift yesterday. I wanted to talk about this wreck we did yesterday. So we'll sit down tomorrow and we'll communicate those things. And communication's key, guys. You got to talk to people. You got to learn how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me. Well, obviously not hard for me because I can talk to anybody. Everybody says I'm loud, and we call it a Shackelford voice. My brother is louder than I am. My dad was a dispatcher for 30 years for the state police. And they called him Jumpin' Joe because when Jumpin' Joe was on the radio and he was fired up, you had something good. You always knew before Dispatch Debbie and the computer talking to you, when Jumpin' Joe was telling you that it was on fire, it's probably because he got a phone call and it was really on fire. I mean,
yeah. Awesome. Well, that wraps up the questions that we have for the main portion. Like Brennan said, we got the 2 last steps for you. So we got our question from our previous guest, which was Captain Kenny Hayes from Boston.
Okay.
Great guy. It's the second time we've had him on our podcast. He's just fantastic. We were his first podcast too. I forgot to mention that last time. That was awesome.
Very nice.
And then the next one will then be on you. You'll be tasked with coming up with a question for our next guest, which is Tom Nicholson of Grand Shoe Fire. So
okay.
The question from Kenny goes, he's started to do a lot more teaching. He talked about at the end of the episode that he's kind of trying to find that happy medium with his family, kind of finding a way to tone back. We talked about the thousands of conferences that are around. He said he's got a hard time finding no. And so he knew that you kind of are in the same boat with doing a lot of teaching. And his question was, when does that passion become too much, or when has it become too much for you, and what'd you do for it?
This last year, that's actually easy for me to answer. This year was the first time I've been on vacation with my daughters since 2018. The first time that we did a family vacation, and I took a 24-year-old on a family vacation with us this year. I went and got to play at the fire department while I did it. We went to DC for 5 days, and I went and visited my friend Eric Budd and got to check a bucket list. I got to ride in a walk-in rescue going to fire. That was amazing. And I spent about a half a day with Eric at Rescue 3 in DC. He's the what do they call it? The squad wagon driver. So he's like the god of the squad out there, which is what they call the rescue. But that was the first vacation that I've been on with my kids since 2018. Because my vacation time I spend going to conferences and going and teaching. Last year I burned 2 weeks of vacation to do state certification classes for a department south of Indianapolis. We spent a week for operations level and a week for technician level vehicle rescue in Greenwood Fire up in Indianapolis, south of Indy. I burned 2 weeks of vacation to be there. My girlfriend is she gets put I don't know how she puts up with my ass, to be honest with you. She's so much better than I deserve. We take one trip a year. I get away once with her, and then the rest of my time I spend teaching. I've tried to kind of scale that back this year, and not burn so many days. I mean, I'll burn trade days, I'll burn vacation to go do classes, and it's a hard place to find that happy medium. But you have to find it, because you will burn yourself out doing this. You'll burn yourself out traveling. When I was working for Task Force 1 out of Pennsylvania, Ron Richards has a company called Task Force 1, and I was teaching for him. Still on his roster to teach for him. It's hard to find time to go do it. I would go do a weekend class, and I have to fly to Pennsylvania, or we would go to Georgia. We went south of Atlanta, 2 hours south of Atlanta. Travel out on a Friday, teach Saturday, Sunday, travel home either Sunday night or Monday. It's hard. But finding that medium is going to make you a better instructor. If you are spending every waking minute burning the candle at both ends, you're going to burn yourself out. I was getting to that point, and I didn't want to get there. Another way is finding people to help you. I have a group there's 4 of us. I have 3 instructors that teach for me. A gentleman by the name of Randy Anthus. He is a captain in a town south of here called Princeton Fire, and then he works for McQueen. as a rescue specialist. So it's kind of nice to have McQueen has been wonderful in helping us with tools for classes. He's got a McQueen truck that's full of Hirsch tools. It's real nice to make that phone call. Hey, we're going to do a class. You want to come help? And he said he'll get with McQueen, and McQueen will come up. And McQueen's based up by you guys.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Where are they out of? It's got to be up by us. I don't know if it's in Wisconsin or not.
Yeah, I think they're in Wisconsin, but I don't remember for sure. But, you know, I've got Randy that works for me. I've got another guy, Josh Hubbard. He is an instructor for me. He actually is not a firefighter. He is a tow recovery operator. He has a RecMaster 8-9R certification. We actually have him certified now in the state of Indiana to the technician level. We sent him through the classes, and bringing somebody in to help you do that, help you teach these classes. I've got guys now that when I get asked to do a class, if I can't be there, I can say, go teach, and they take care of me. Another one that I have is a student that I had. His name's Sam McLean. He's a truck guy up from Avon, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. I can call these guys and say, I got a class to go do, and I can't do it. Go do it. And I know they're going to do it, and they're almost like my shift. They make me look good. I don't even have to be there. So, you know, finding guys that you could work with, finding guys that support you, finding supportive fire departments. I got fire departments that will allow me to schedule around my work schedule. I did a class last year for Terre Haute Fire, which is the department north of us here, and we didn't do class on B shift. That way I didn't have to burn vacation time. I said, hey, I can do class Monday, Tuesday. I can't do Wednesday. We'll finish up Thursday, Friday. They said, perfect, no problem. So it kind of worked out really well for me because I can work around my schedule. But you have to be willing to work with them if they're going to work with you.
For sure.
But that's the big thing, is finding that balance and sticking to it. You know, sticking to your guns. You know, I'm very blessed. I've made really good money teaching. I try to give courses that are fairly inexpensive, but you can't sell yourself short either. You can't go out and sell classes and sell your soul to go do these classes when you're losing money. And you know, this business isn't all about making money. I've taught classes for free for years. But you got overhead. If you start a company, you got overhead, you know, you've got insurance, you've got travel expenses. You know, when I went down to, met you guys down in Atlanta, that cost me about $500 to drive down there and buy food and drive home. You know, I lost money doing that class, and that's really hard to do. Taking that time away from your family when you don't have anything to show for it other than the good feeling you get from teaching, it can be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like that I'm out here to get rich, because I'm not. I am out here to keep my head above water. You know,
absolutely.
You know, and I will do classes extremely inexpensive because I love doing it. I love cutting cars up. I love lifting heavy things. You know, I've got to the point now where I'm starting to buy things. You know, I own Paratech now because I'm that stupid. You know, so
yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's the easy part done. Now's the last hard thing for you, is to come up with a question, which you'll find out is hard to do, which is why everybody listening has to send in questions. So
yeah, my brain's starting to hurt.
Well, and the thing is, so the gentleman that you have coming on your next show, never met the guy. I don't know if he's a truck guy. I don't know if he's an engine guy. I don't know. He might be a hazmat geek. I don't know.
He's not.
You know, he's like, no, he's not a hazmat geek.
He is an engineer on an engine right now. He is a big paramedic guy. Like I said, I teach paramedic with him at our tech college. His department just got ambulances, otherwise they were paramedic engines. And so he's been a big part in kind of pushing for that and wanting to do that. So it's kind of been cool to see. But above all, he is a goofy motherfucker. So that's
okay. God, you're making me think really hard here.
Yeah,
my brain's not working like this. All right. The question I have for the next guest: what is the hardest part of bringing paramedics who are paramedic first into a fire service? How do you make your make that switch from EMS side to fire side?
You've never met him before, but you just gave him a question right up his alley. So
Okay.
that's,
Well, because that's hard for me. We don't run ambulances here. We're an ALS on transport at my job.
so
What's that?
Brendan said, "God damn!" I said,
We're ALS on transport, but you don't have to do ALS. You can choose to do that class. And I told my chief, I said, if you make me go to advanced school or paramedic school, I'm good. I can't do it. Back in the day, I'll even tell you this: I turned down a job with a bigger fire department, making more money with a better pension, so I didn't have to go to paramedic school. But I applaud the paramedics. We couldn't do our job without them. I'm a big fan of the fire service, but we got to have them both. So
I like being a medic now because I'm done with school. But if you had to tell me I had to do it over again, I'm gonna say you can go stick your wrist on the shine.
We have some people here that are, and I'm going to be real honest. I was very critical of us going to an ALS service. We have a private ambulance service that is normally, we barely get our basic skills done here sometimes. And we have a paramedic ambulance coming behind us. I was very critical of it, and I was wrong for that. I shouldn't have been critical of that. I know that it's 90% of our job. And as a leader, I was being critical and, again, not shutting my mouth when I should have. And it actually hurt me with some of the guys here that are very passionate about EMS. It put me in a darker light because I was pushing against what they were passionate about. And you talk about learning from failures. That was a failure of mine that I had to learn from because I did not want that as part of our job. I want fire service. I wanted rescue. I wanted, we don't need no IVs on our shit. Let's just go. You know what I mean? Pack them up, send them out to the people to do that. But that's something I had to learn. And again, here, how about an old dog with a new trick? I had to do that because I was that old dog that was being salty and saying, no, we don't need this. And it's been a good thing for our department. It's been a good thing for our job.
Awesome.
I just wish we weren't transporting.
It's
you're gonna love Tom being on the next episode because I tell him that every time. They just got ambulances. I think it was either January this year or early on. I told him, I was like, "You are an idiot." I was like, "Why?"
USC, man, it fucking blows.
It's cool. It's like you said, when you got a passion for it, it is hard. I mean, when they had their paramedic engines, they were doing these paramedic things, and then they just had to hand it off to somebody else to finish out the job. And it was like I could totally see, like Brett has said, at the time it might suck, but then you get those calls and you're like, you're right, this was worth it. This is why we went to school, why we did this stuff. So
I don't do a lot of EMS calls as battalion chief. I drive a nice little Toyota Tundra that's got my air pack in it, and my guys always tell me when we're working out, I don't know why you're not just doing something to push that mic button for the working your thumb out for the mic button on the radio. But I worked an overtime shift on what is today? Friday? Today's Thursday. Monday, I worked an overtime shift riding an engine company, riding my last engine company before I promoted as the officer. And we had a car hit 7 pedestrians in a Walmart parking lot. I pulled up to an MCI as the first arriving company officer. And you want to talk about pucker factor. I haven't done a lot of I think last year I wrote 4 EMS reports for the entire year. Yeah. I pulled up to an MCI with 7, and a good portion of those were children. It was. It made me think, oh God, I got to remember this EMS crap again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the podcast and to share some knowledge. We really appreciate it. And yeah, that's all we got for you. So last part is anything that you have left that you want to shout out. So if there's any trainings that you've got coming up early or coming up the rest of the year, if there's any people, just anything that you have left that you want to touch on that you feel we didn't get to, that's how we wrap this up.
I appreciate you guys having me on this. I've done one other podcast with some guys out of Indianapolis. I have been unbelievably blessed in my career to have made great friendships, family. I've got guys that in the fire service that I'm closer to than I am my family. That may be bad. That may be good. I've had some great influences. I've had some bad influences. I've learned from everybody. I have people that when I have problems that I call and ask opinions of, ask their information. Ryan McCormick from Little Rock area, I talk to him a lot. I talk to Jeff Eckert a lot. I've got people that I call, and having that network is huge. You guys are doing a lot to build that network for people. My information's out there. If you have any questions, reach out. CrossroadsTrainingLLC.com is my website for my training company. It's got all my contact information on it. Crossroads Training's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Jon Shackelford. Please, I love talking fire. I love talking rescue. Hell, I'll say it. I love talking. I'm that guy, I mean, I'm very outgoing, very bubbly, but if you guys got questions, you're interested in a class, let me know. Have truck will travel. I'll even say this: have passport will travel. Let's go. I love it. So let's do it. I mean, to come to Wisconsin, I'd almost have a passport to go that far north.
Yeah, it's close.
There's only a couple good things that come out of Wisconsin. That's going to be
beer
and
cheese,
and beer.
What's that?
Cheese and beer.
And what kind of beer from Indiana am I going to have if I come to Wisconsin?
Better cow.
Spotted cow, dude. I mean, we got guys that drive to Wisconsin and they bring cases of that crap back to Indiana.
Oh yeah.
So when you guys get your training stuff set up, I'd love to come up and do something. Just let me know. I'll drive up. We'll have a few beers and have fun doing it.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you everybody for listening. And as always, don't be a shitbag.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Don't be a shitbag. I love it.
Tune in. Don't